Welcome to HortTube, where we talk all things gardening. My name is Jim Putnam, and this is a Fashion Azalea. This is Fashion Azalea, an evergreen, spring-blooming azalea with beautiful orangey red flowers. Fashion could probably reach 4, maybe even 5 feet in height over time, and probably 4 to 5 feet in width, but it's very easy to keep this plant in the 3 to 4 foot by 3 to 4 foot range. Fashion azaleas are hardy in zone 6 to 9, probably in zone 6A. I'd probably put it near a foundation of a house or just out of the direct north wind. Fashion has a moderate growth rate. Once they've been established for a couple years, we might get about 6 inches a year on them. In terms of sun or shade on azaleas, they are definitely plants that like part shade. They don't like deep shade, and they definitely cannot sit in the full afternoon sun during the summertime. So you really need a place where you're going to get a lot of morning sun or a lot of evening sun on them. Just not a lot of that 12 to 2 or 11 to 2 sun in June. The primary uses for Fashion azaleas is number one, as a foundation plant on the shady part of your foundation. The one thing to keep in mind with that is the shady part of your foundation tends to be wetter, so make sure you're mounding them up and not over mulching them. These are really easy to love to death. They also work great mass planted in a woodland garden with a little bit of tree canopy, not in the woods, but any space where you have some spacing between the trees so you're getting some light down on them. The main features of Fashion azaleas, of course, is this incredible orangey red flower show in the early spring. This is one of the heaviest flowering varieties that I grow, and really it just does this every single year. This is the one lower growing azalea that I can kind of trust will look like this in the spring when we're trying to sell them. Another feature is the new foliage that comes out after the flowers is a lighter green color, and it looks great with the darker green foliage on the center of it. And then of course azaleas are evergreen, so a lot going on with these really. I've included planting instructions for woody shrubs in the description of this video. Just make sure with azaleas that you're mounding them up and not over mulching them and not over watering them. They are extremely sensitive to Phytophthora root rot and very easy to kill that way. And I think a lot of people plant azaleas and they get planted poorly, and then they struggle or die, and then they're very quickly turned off to azaleas. Azaleas planted properly, put in the right locations, should be super low maintenance and super easy. If your azaleas are planted on a foundation, once they're established, you're probably not going to have to do a whole lot of watering on them if they're on the shady side of your foundation and you're in an area that gets regular rainfall. They're reasonably drought tolerant that way. Obviously, if you're putting them in a woodland garden and there's tree root competition, you really do need to lay down some sort of drip hose when you're planting them, or have some ability to come back and water them in the future, because trees are very, very good at stealing water and nutrients from our shrubs. Azaleas are acid-loving plants, and any fertilizer for acid-loving plants, any fertilizer that says Azalea camellia rhododendrons or says holly in the name would be ideal. You definitely want to wait until after these flower typically to fertilize them. We don't want to get a lot of new green growth on them that covers up the flowers. Also, I've noticed in the past that if I fertilize azaleas too early, I think the flowers end up muted. They're not as bright to me. I don't know if that's actually a thing. It's just something I've observed. So wait till after they've flowered, give them a slow release fertilizer for acid loving plants just once. The best time to prune azaleas, really the only time to prune azaleas, is right after they bloom. If you wait too late in the summer, they actually will set their flower buds for the next season. So you have a window of maybe 60 days or so that you can prune these after they flower and allow them time to reset flowers for next year. In terms of insects or disease problems on azaleas, they are definitely susceptible to insects called lace bugs that attach themselves to the underside of the leaf and can do some damage over time. They're definitely more susceptible to that being foundation planted where the wind doesn't move. They're rather easy to control. I usually don't do anything about them in my yard. They'll discolor the leaves temporarily in the early summer, and I just don't worry a whole lot about it. Azaleas are very susceptible to Phytophthora root rot. If you plant this plant flush to the ground, put 3 inches of mulch around it, and put it on an irrigation system, it's almost certain death for these. These things have to be allowed to dry out between rains and between waterings. Deer like azaleas about as much as we do, so if you have a deer population in your yard, they definitely have to be foundation plants where the deer won't come up to your house, or you probably want to pick something different in your woodland garden. So what are you waiting for? Even you can grow the low maintenance spring flowering Fashion Azalea. Thank you for watching my video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Also comment below with any questions you have about azaleas. Thanks again.